Welcome back everyone, and it's time to go balls deep. Today we're following on from our last debate about who wins between Naruto and Boruto, which is on your screen right now. We all know the result of that one, and if you don't, then you must go watch it. Do it! This is the hottest topic in the community right now. I'm telling you, is Genesakura is fire. This is thanks to this single throwaway line Sasuke states that managed to send the entire fandom fam into a complete meltdown. That's right, it's what you've all been waiting for. In the blue corner, we have the sexy edgelord himself, who is my favorite character, the GOAT, also known as Batman Sensei Sasuke Uchiha. And in the red corner, we have Sarada, an Uchiha with a Specsaver's prescription, the future Hokage, the first Uchiha Hokage to be. It's time! 12-year-old Sasuke vs 12-year-old Sarada. Let's get ready to rumble! It's gonna be an interesting one, but we aim to come at this fairly to finally solve the question on who wins. Before we start comparing them, this is a collaboration video because I decided to add 2 more opinions on this topic. We have King Bullet, yes, and we have Naruto Explained. We all were debating in Discord, having our fights, having our discussion. No, she wins. No, Sasuke wins. Nostalgia goggles, all that good shit. And we came to a fair conclusion and we all agreed upon this video and analysis. The criteria in this battle comparison is strength, defense, jutsu, speed, natural talent, feats, chakra level, chakra natures, and the Sharingan and genjutsu. Bruh. So let's throw all of our bias out of the window right now and decide who's the stronger one out of the 2. Let's compare raw physical strength between the 2 Uchiha. With the same premise as our last video comparing Naruto vs Boruto, strength comprises more than just raw power. From the skill in hand-to-hand combat to the impact left on their opponents with efficiency and effectiveness in overall battle. So we are going to separate strength into 2 categories. Taijutsu, which is hand-to-hand combat skills, to raw power. Sasuke, being somewhat of a prodigy himself, isn't short for praise. At the start of the Naruto series, a 12-year-old Sasuke instantly put himself above the rest by getting the approval of Kakashi himself. When he displayed fire release, for example, Kakashi was utterly shocked at how talented Sasuke was, already knowing a nature type. Looking at the bell test, Sasuke puts a veteran Kakashi to his toes by managing to surprise and land a hit on him. In the process, Sasuke touched the bells, which forced Kakashi to get serious, which means Sasuke's raw strength and taijutsu was superior to any genin Kakashi had come across, as the story had told us that every single team that went to him completely failed. In comparison, Sarada needed help from not only Boruto, but her entire class to even come close to taking the bell from Kakashi. Even though this Kakashi, we have to admit, is stronger and is more experienced than he was in Naruto, Sarada didn't come close to showing the same level of combat technique. With that said, Sarada later does progress to the point of being able to spar with the likes of an elite Sakura. However, please wait for us to break that down later on in the video. When we come back to Sasuke, early on in the series, he was shown to have outmaneuvered Haku, a hunter nin more powerful than the Jonin Zabuza, as Zabuza had admitted himself that Haku was stronger than him, but he didn't have the heart to unleash his full strength. He defeated a ninja several years older than him with a high-level taijutsu he saw only once, whilst he had just finished a 5-day survival test and couldn't even use his jutsu due to the curse mark. Haku also had a long practice Kekkei Genkai and could use one-handed seals, but Sasuke still defeated him in a taijutsu clash. He fought Haku better than all the Jonin who got killed by him. He fought Orochimaru and Yoroi better than Anko did, and fought Gaara better than the 2 Chunin achieved. At 12 years old, Sasuke also reaches Rock Lee's unweighted speed and is extremely competent with all of Lee's basic taijutsu in only a month. Plus he learns the Chidori. This all makes Sasuke the most powerful and skilled of all the genin at this point, except for a transformed overwhelmed Gaara. He critically injured Gaara twice, literally a living weapon of mass destruction that a whole village fears. The second time, whilst Gaara was in mid-transformation, if it weren't for the Konoha attack, Gaara would have been done right there. He briefly fought the Sound Four evenly as well, despite them taking on Jonin and being Orochimaru's elite bodyguards. Each one nearly overwhelmed Sasuke's classmates one-on-one without using curse seals. Yet Sasuke had the balls to put up a fight against all of them at once, doing so while smiling. They of course eventually win and convince him to go to Orochimaru, but it's pretty obvious he is capable of beating them 1v1. Sasuke fought a 9-tailed Naruto and won, something Haku and Neji couldn't do. Even before using Curse Seal, his Sharingan and physical prowess kept track of an overpowered 9-tails Naruto. By the end of the Chunin exam arc, the story made it clear that Sasuke was a cut above the rest. He was the strongest genin of all by the end of original Naruto series, on top of having Kage level feats already. So when talking about hand-to-hand ability, Sasuke is skilled enough to be called a Chunin level ninja by Genma, who was a special Jonin who was part of Team Minato. However, Sarada was shown being able to outskill the likes of Boruto and even being capable of swapping hands with him in episode 24, which is just before the graduation exam where Kakashi says Boruto has Chunin level skill, which due to scaling also applies to Sarada over here. She even defeated Boruto and Mitsuki 2v1 in the science experiment episodes. Of course, Boruto and Sarada have only become more skillful in the time since then, and we have statements that place them both at Jonin levels before even the Chunin exams. The Boruto movie novelization even verbatim telling us that Sarada's skills were at the level of a Jonin. The issue being Sasuke himself in skill is able to keep up with top Jonin like Kakashi despite him holding back power-wise during the bell test, and even capable of outskilling Haku hand-to-hand during the Land of Waves. Now in Sarada's case, when we look at her hand-to-hand combat ability, being a prodigy herself, she isn't far too off. She is capable of fighting characters who are Jonin level 2, but not necessarily in just Taijutsu skill alone. There may be a number of different reasons why Sarada's opponents are considered Jonin level. Take Ao. Despite being good at Taijutsu, he was very powerful with his ninja tech too, whereas Sasuke constantly copies the Taijutsu of many ninja with the Sharingan, including the Taijutsu of a literal expert Rock Lee. Hence Sasuke can use moves like the Lion's Barrage. Sarada more so relies on her brute strength rather than actual Taijutsu and moves. So would it be fair to say Sarada falls a bit short in hand-to-hand combat due to the poor utilization of a Sharingan? We have to remember that even though she does possess the Sharingan, unlike Sasuke, she did not have a contemporary skill to the same degree as that of Rock Lee, who solely focused on Taijutsu, whose moves she could have potentially copied. To say Sarada has greater Taijutsu skill would diminish Rock Lee's ability despite him clearly showing he has a better mastery over it than Sarada. Now to be clear, Sasuke has shown that when he taps into the Curse Mark power, he's way stronger and faster, but he doesn't gain any additional Taijutsu ability. He does however gain the ability to fly, which may make it very difficult for Sarada to use her limited Taijutsu on him since she herself cannot fly. So Sasuke takes the win on this round. However, with all of that said, although hand-to-hand combat was close between the two, with Sasuke slightly winning, raw strength is a completely different deal. Sarada folds Sasuke like a pancake in raw power. She is way above in every sense of the word. In the Naruto Gaiden manga, she one-shots the Sharingan spine creature with one punch. So strong, it impresses Naruto despite having a newly awakened Sharingan. In the Gaiden manga, there is also a scene where Sasuke is absolutely shocked and impressed that Sarada can keep up with the clones, bodying them in one punch. Upon gaining more practice with her Sharingan, she is able to defeat experienced shinobi like Buntan Kurosaki and later Ashimaru, who was shown to be very resilient, unfazed by the series of explosive tags blasts set off on him. To further put things into perspective, Sasuke, who during the bell test was able to pull off a fire style jutsu that shocked Kakashi by vaporizing a large section of the ground leaving a massive crater, Sarada, even before her chakra control training with Sakura in the Kara arc, was showcasing to casually really leave creators with just her punches. She already has displayed more feats in raw strength than Sasuke very early on in her career. Nevertheless, Sasuke himself scales to base Naruto. Naruto with a mental amp beat Kabuto, who was Kakashi's equal according to Jiraiya. Naruto during the Valley of End uses his utmost strength as stated in the second data book, meaning in his base form he's at least in a similar tier to Kakashi, meaning Sasuke's base form may be around Kakashi's level. He then stacks 2 curse mark forms on top of this. The second one is stated to be 10 times increase in both power and chakra, making Sasuke this high Jonin level beast. However, later on in the story, we witness Sarada lose to Deeper very badly. Now you're probably thinking, oh my god, they're about to give the W to Sasuke in terms of raw strength. No. To be absolutely fair, Deeper's carbon was able to easily eat a Rasengan at point blank range. Deeper's carbon tanked Konohamaru's Fire Dragon Flame Jutsu, a high level fire release jutsu that is extremely hard to master, which it should be noted the only other ninja who mastered this jutsu are the 3rd Hokage and Jiraiya. We know scientifically that condensed carbon is the hardest substance on earth. Deeper's armor was enhanced and the strongest we have seen in the entire series. Deeper was an Inakara member, meaning that he's a threat at the level of toppling countries all on his own if he wanted to, being able to face Kage himself. Deeper's armor was so powerful that it made Shinki's metal sand look like a joke. Shinki's version of sand has already been stated to us to be stronger, more durable, and better than Gaara's. And this is an adult Gaara we're talking about. This is in the training exams, which means this is a direct comparison to what Sasuke achieved at the same age. However, the difference is major. Deeper's carbon can take on metal sand, yet Sarada later on, after training with Sakura and learning and copying her chakra control, Sarada further enhanced her punches and raw strength. Sarada was capable of cracking Deeper's carbon armor with a punch, which made her absolutely busted. This is super impressive since Shinki, when using his iron fist, couldn't even scratch Deeper's normal body. In fact, his sand broke just from punching him. This same sand was capable of restraining and taking punches from Otsutsuki fam. So how did a 12-year-old Sarada do this? Well, Sarada herself inherited Sakura's natural advanced control over her chakra, and by taking advantage of her Sharingan, she is able to copy and learn Sakura's perfect chakra control, which allows her to use almost all of her chakra efficiently and master her power punches. By building up chakra into her fists and releasing it on contact with a target, Sarada is able to compete in power with the likes of a veteran Sakura. We know Sakura can take on the most elite of opponents at this point of time. Sakura as an adult can even take on Madara, even though some of you don't even like hearing that. Like, you get probably triggered with us just saying that. That's how OP adult Sakura is. Now, of course, Sakura over here wasn't using her Bakugo seal. However, she was exerting a lot of power. To put this into perspective, her attacks are strong enough to wipe away forests, casually increasing with a greater release of chakra. From then on, Sarada at only 12 years old becomes a literal beast. Sasuke's feat of destroying the water tank with a Chidori, it's a complete joke in comparison to what Sarada can do now, because Sarada could blow up the entire thing without even trying or utilizing jutsu. This essentially means that any feat that Sakura has achieved in original Naruto and later Boruto, for example breaking Kaguya's horn, making massive craters in the wall, bodying Shin Uchiha, and also punching the ground causing a mini earthquake, which by the way completely destroyed their whole house in one punch, and that's whilst it was being a joke and a gag. Look at this clip.
The next day, the motherfucker was dead.
Well, Sarada can essentially achieve all of them at only 12 years old, since she matched Sakura's power. So it's not surprising considering even Sasuke believes that Sarada is a more skilled shinobi than himself around the same age in the latest episode. He admits this. In conclusion, Sarada overpowers Sasuke in raw strength and takes the win this round. Now, let's cover intelligence. When it comes to raw academic knowledge in Boruto episode 2, Sarada was evaluated at at 3rd in her academy class, with her peers noting she would easily pass the Genin exams. Sasuke is very smart when it comes to written tests too. Remember, the whole reason Naruto ended up in the same team as him is because he was the lowest of low and Sasuke was the absolute genius, this highest graded person in the entire class, so they had to balance the teams. Sarada inherited Sakura's book smarts and constantly spent her time in the library and usually scores very high results on her tests, whereas Sasuke was more focused on gaining raw power to take down Itachi, so it's fair to say Sarada is more book smart than Sasuke. But more importantly, in a versus matchup like this one, how you apply your knowledge in combat is integral. Sarada is judged to have tuning level leadership and battle analysis skills by Konoha higher-ups. She was also trusted to lead the new Team 7 into battle against Boro as the team commander. Sarada has been foreshadowed to be the future leader and Kage many times in the series already. In fact, we have done a full feature-long video discussing every sign that she will be the future Hokage. You must watch this video that's being displayed to you right now because it will show the sheer amount of intelligence she has in decision making and in battle, which makes her deserve this title in the future. Sarada is capable of using her various abilities in dire situations, effectively using the surroundings and tools around her. For example, she manages to use her opponent's sword's reflection to gain Jutsu herself to escape a paralysis. Now this is clearly advanced, however Sasuke has better combat intelligent feats. He is capable of utilizing multi-step plans with Naruto against Zabuza in the heat of battle to free their sensei Kakashi. What is most impressive here is the fact that both knew what they were planning to do with only a single glance at each other. They meticulously pulled off a plan that required them to trick a Jonin level opponent using shadow clones, ninja tools, and the transformation jutsu in only their first major fight. For example, even in the 3rd Naruto data book, it describes Sasuke as the following. He is a proficient strategist and tactician, observing his opponent's skills and deducing their workings with ease and accuracy, whilst also remaining calm and composed. He then chooses the most effective means and ninjutsu to counter them. We see this shining example when he himself is the one that figured out Haku's abilities, which was an advanced Kekkei Genkai many people haven't experienced before. He is also the one that figured out Orochimaru's disguise by developing a plan to lure him out. Even Orochimaru, who's a Kage level ninja, was impressed at how smart Sasuke was. Sasuke mastered the fireball jutsu in only a week as a kid, and although Sarada has inherited some of these analytical skills in battle from her father, such as quickly recognizing Boro's virus or the 20-second gap in between Kakao's particle style in the Octorok where nobody else could do this, she still falls short in comparison to Sasuke, as he would have figured this out with complete ease as well. The story made it very clear that Sasuke is a natural genius and has studied a lot to become who he is. He has an analytical mind and till this day still exists in Boruto. That's why Isshiki Otsutsuki said Sasuke is the #1 target instead of Naruto. Therefore, the argument can easily be made that Sasuke too can solve similar problems in the heat of battle. Sasuke in every single one of his fights at 12 years old was seen as the analytical one that will figure out the opponent and create a plan to have victory. Whilst with Sarada, Boruto has been the one that creates plans as well, such as tracking down Jugo in his cave using mathematics and tracking methods. Sarada was impressed at Boruto being able to do this. Boruto is the one that created the method of taking down Ao. Sarada was not involved in multiple occasions of the series in multiple fights that Team 7 have had, whereas for Sasuke, he was always seen as being the genius. The whole point of Boruto is showcasing that Sarada inherited part of her nature of being intelligent and creative from Sasuke in the first place, which in turn makes her capable of being the Hokage. Sasuke as an adult technically has also achieved this feat already, as he is seen as the Kage in the shadows that helps Naruto. And one more important fact I want to mention is that chakra has become more refined and teaching methods have become much more easier as the generations go on. For example, in Naruto's time, learning the Rasengan was harder because the method wasn't figured out yet until Jiraiya came along. Minato was said to be a natural genius, but he took ages to make it happen, right? So the same logic applies to the Chidori or any other jutsu. Although Sarada learned it easier and is is gaining powers just as fast as Sasuke, that's because the teaching methods are becoming better. Sasuke learnt the harder way and still matches his daughter's speed at picking things up and mastering them when it comes to the Chidori and every other jutsu in comparison. So in our eyes, although it seems very close, Sasuke does seem to have more combat intelligence and awareness than Sarada. So we are giving intelligence to Sasuke.
If we're talking about the Sharingan, yes, obviously Sarada has a 3-tomo in the manga, and Sasuke in part 1 also had a 3-tomo, but this doesn't mean that they would cancel each other out, since, as we'll soon see, not every Sharingan is the exact same. So let's first begin by talking about part 1 Sasuke, armed with the curse mark power, Orochimaru forced into him, and the 3-tomo Sharingan. His Kekkei Genkai may not have quite reached the level of the Mangekyō or anything of that sort, but his Sharingan is fueled by a humongous level of hatred, especially around this time in his life, which is very important to remember. So we'll look at the original Naruto manga, aka the Holy Grail. It says that the Sharingan strength can be increased through hatred, which may confuse some of you guys, what with Tobirama explaining the transformation of the Uchiha clan's eyes in the Mangekyō, which is triggered by the loss of the ones that they love. However, that's not what I'm talking about. When Tobirama was chatting with Hashirama, he explains to him that the blasted Uchiha eyes get even more and more dangerous the more hatred that they feel. Tobirama is talking about the base Sharingan right here, as there weren't like 900 of those freaking Uchiha running around with the Mangekyō Sharingan. We know this to be true because of what Itachi told Sasuke the night that he killed the Uchiha clan, that he must grow his hatred in order to become stronger. We see this again during the 5 Kage summit, where his base Sharingan was stupidly overpowered because of the hatred that he was feeling while he was killing the samurai. Since part 1 Sasuke is driven mostly by hatred, one might assume that his Sharingan is a lot stronger than Sarada's, as she doesn't appear to have any type of hatred in her heart, but that wouldn't necessarily be correct. Sarada may not have much hatred, if any at all, but she has a lot of what Sasuke didn't have at her age: Sharingan training. More specifically, she's been trained quite extensively by someone who has years of experience with the Sharingan's full power, meaning she's been taught how to use it properly and draw out more and more of its true power. Now, we all know the Kara actuation arc, right? Remember when Sasuke trained Sarada to try and strengthen her 1-tomo Sharingan? Well, that's just what the anime shows you. There's even more training like this in the Sasuke Shinden, the Teacher Star Pupil novel, where Sasuke not only trains her alongside Team 7 for weeks, but he specifically trains Sarada's 3-tomo Sharingan so that he can draw out as much power as possible. We see the results of this in some very big ways, as Sarada is doing more with her Sharingan than Sasuke could have possibly done at her age. In fact, he wasn't pulling off some of this stuff until he was 16 years old. She's shown that she can track speeds that go far beyond anything that part 1 Sasuke, even with this curse mark, could ever do with his Sharingan. In the Boruto manga, Sarada was able to see Boros viruses, which are so small only the Sharingan eye can see them on a molecular level. We only see Sasuke ever pull something this advanced off after his 3-tomo Sharingan was charged up to what we could argue was its absolute peak. As he was hunting down Itachi, that was the last time we saw him do something like Sarada did against Boro. What I mean is that Sasuke went toe-to-toe with Deidara before he ever found Itachi, and this is when he was able to see Deidara's microscopic bombs that were in his bloodstream. But even if we throw that out of the window and we roll with the assumption that all 3-tomo Sharingan are capable of seeing things on a molecular, microscopic level, Sarada's Sharingan is still far greater. A fact that we need to remember, and I'm sure that we all do in this case, is that Sasuke's 2-tomo Sharingan struggled to keep up with Naruto, who had gone just a little bit wild with rage when he was fighting in the final valley. However, after he unlocked his 3rd tomo, he was able to effortlessly see the exact same movements from Naruto that he had struggled to see mere minutes before that. When Naruto unleashed his one-tailed cloak for the very first time, his movements became too fast for Sasuke all over again, and Naruto's speed here wasn't even at a level of any of the Akatsuki members, who were considered by Jiraiya to all be Kage level threats. So we know for sure that part 1 Sasuke would have struggled against that level of speed. That being said, Sarada has been able to track movements of multiple opponents with that same level of speed that Sasuke struggled with. One single tomo and training with her father was all that she needed to be able to keep track of and even predict the trajectory of Deepa's projectiles. For some context, these projectiles move too fast for Boruto to keep up with, and this is the same kid who was fast enough to stab Momoshiki in the manga and fast enough to block and tag the exact same dude in the anime. The same kid kid wasn't able to even avoid these projectiles coming from Deepa, and yet Sarada was, and after unlocking her 2 Tomo, she was even able to track the speed of Deepa's movements while they fought. To show you how impressive this is, Deepa is so fast that he was able to speed blitz both Mitsuki and Omoi. Omoi was fast enough to create after images, yet Deepa called it child's play, a freaking joke, and that's after Omoi had become faster and stronger during the war and was able to keep up with Amariori Ringo. Sarada's Sharingan became even more powerful later on thanks to the extra training with her papa, which we see pay off when she's able to keep up with Boro's movements and followed them in combat for a small moment, which is huge because he's stated to be superior to Delta. These are all speeds that Part 1 Sasuke wouldn't have been able to even comprehend tracking, which brings me back to my earlier point. They both have the same Tomo Sharingan, but even with Sasuke's hatred being the driving force for his Kekkei Genkai, Sarada's training has proven to be a much more of a benefit than any amount of hatred. Part 1 Sasuke has absolutely no genjutsu feats either, by the way, so Sarada's also got him beat in that department, as we've seen Sarada use her genjutsu on a number of occasions. However, for the sake of fairness, we'll leave this one undecided since Sasuke never once used it in Part 1 Naruto. In conclusion, Sarada's Sharingan beats Part 1 Sasuke any day and is not even close.
Now, let's talk about something that people will usually consider to be Sasuke's forte, speed. Sasuke shocked everybody with his speed from time to time, maybe stopping 2 Chunin level ninjas in a second in the very beginning in the Land of Waves arc, dodging Haku's needles, and much more. Even these 2 feats are quite amazing for somebody who's on his first actual mission as a genin, and this happens almost at the beginning of the story, by the way. While going against Haku makes him a cut above the rest instantly, there's much more to him. Before Sasuke had full mastery over his curse mark, Sasuke was shown with a pretty substantial speed increase during the Chunin exams, when he casually speed blitzed Zaku's attacks, which showed that Sasuke's speed had gone to levels beyond that of even sound, meaning without doubt his attacks can break the sound barrier. Later on in the same arc, after training with Kakashi for the entire month, Sasuke goes on to face Gaara during the latter end of the Chunin exams. During his fight, Sasuke's speed was shown on par with Rock Lee after Lee took off his weights against Gaara, which Might Guy confirmed in chapter 112. However, unlike Lee, Sasuke is not capable of maintaining that level of speed for more than a few quick bursts, matching Rock Lee's speed, which is still quite impressive, hence Might Guy's reaction to Sasuke's movements. It almost seemed like Might Guy was jealous in this moment. Yes, Sasuke made a grown man jealous. And when Sasuke pulls off a Chidori, Lee even states that he achieved a speed that he himself was not capable of, meaning Sasuke using the Chidori is actually faster than 5th Gate Rock Lee, which is unbelievable. However, Sasuke goes on to get even quicker weeks later in the timeline. When the Sound 4 arrived, while Sasuke did ultimately get destroyed against the Sound 4, he was briefly able to move at speeds fast enough to force them to actually block his attacks. For reference, the Sound 4 at full power was shown scaling to special Jonin like Genma, who's personally selected by the 4th and 5th Hokage to be their personal god. In fact, Kid Sasuke just going against Kidomaru in the first place, who fires arrows at the speed of lightning, according to the second databook, just showcases how fast Sasuke is at this point, making him easily faster than the speed of sound, which he already was, possibly even the speed of lightning with his statement. Sasuke then gets an additional boost to his physical stats, including speed, after eating drugs given to him by the Sound 4. This drug plus his actual curse mark allowed him to follow and dodge attacks from one-tailed Naruto during a fight in the Valley of the End. Just for reference, Naruto's speed in this form was so quick that he was moving at a speed which base Sasuke's Sharingan was struggling to actually track, but Sasuke was still fast enough to react and even dodge his attacks once he had transformed, which is actually a massively impressive reaction speed feat on Sasuke's end. For reference, this Naruto would be moving faster than the Naruto who fought Sick Himimaru, who was literally fast enough to keep up with Rock Lee and Gaara. Remember guys, Kimimaru was able to attack with such a speed that he can even create after images to confuse his opponents before delivering his killing strike. Despite of his illness, Kimimaru was still a direct descendant of the Utsutsuki and was noted by Orochimaru and Kabuto as being the most powerful member of the Kaguya clan, with his combat skills alone far outclassing the Sound 4. Even more impressively, Orochimaru thought if Kimimaru wasn't ill and he took his body, he actually would have been able to beat Hiruzen and his entire plan would have gone smoothly. So that's just a testament to how powerful and how fast Kimimaru really is. I mean, that is pretty cool, right? Now let's find out if Sarada can keep up with Sasuke's lightning fast speed. Now Sarada's first considerable feat comes against a Kunoichi named Buntan. Buntan is one of the new legendary ninja swordsmen of the mist and uses lightning release to attack. Right here, Sarada went toe to toe against her, dodging her lightning orbs with rather ease when using only a single Tomoe Sharingan. So she's dodging these really fast attacks with literally a baby Sharingan. And it should be noted noted these lightning style moves should obviously move much faster than the speed of sound. Sarada was able to dodge her attacks for a prolonged period while creating enough space to analyze her opponent thoroughly, forming a strategy in the heat of battle. Another important thing to note is that Sarada copied Butan's lightning armor, which is said to increase the user's speed. And though it's not on the level of the Raikage A's lightning release chakra mode, which allows him to use a body flicker technique, it's fair to say that Sarada has like a lesser version of it. However, Sarada has yet to use this lightning armor again, so it might not be in character for her to use all of the time, though the option is still there if she decides to use it. Sarada is also shown keeping up in speed with base Boruto and Mitsuki, and can even get a jump on them using a flash bomb, winning a sparring match between Team 7. And this is when the scaling in Boruto starts to get a little bit crazy. Don't blame me, blame the author. But now we know that Sarada is relative in speed to Boruto. This is the same Boruto who in chapter 9 of the Boruto manga is shown capable of reacting and tricking Momoshiki using shadow clones. Slightly later on in the anime, base Boruto was quick enough to jump around, casually tagging Ao's mirror drones with paper bombs like nobody's business. This is massively impressive on Sarada's end. Although Ao refused to fight as a shinobi, his physical speed is no joke. He was once considered a Miss Ninja elite, capable of countering Danzo's own Root Ninja. And now that he's been enhanced with ninja tech, he could be drastically stronger. We have no idea. We've seen how powerful Amado's technology can be when it comes to creating cyborgs who are stronger than Jigen, etc. Now, just like our father, Sarada has shown to be at least fast enough to react to attacks on fighters who are Jonin tier plus at the bare minimum, which is actually really consistent with Sarada's earlier feats in the timeline. So after training with Sasuke and Sakura, Sarada showed she could outspeed Deepa's projectiles, which attack enemies at blinding speeds. Deepa was even capable of blitzing a platoon of Cloud Ninja, including Amoe. Even back in Shippuden, Amoe was capable of keeping up with Haruhi and base Naruto. And I don't know about you guys, but come on, Deepa's attacks look as fast as Lightning McQueen. Like, the whole point is to be faster than the enemy and to stop their movement. So far, both father and daughter are almost on the same footing, with some of you saying that Curse Mark Sasuke is winning. But here's the equilibrium breaker: Sarada's test against Sakura. Now, you might remember it for Sarada's strong resolve and how she copied Sakura's perfect chakra control in a flash and went toe-to-toe with the strongest Kunoichi. However, Sarada showed massive improvement in this fight. During the second round, she could parry almost all of Sakura's attacks and even caught Sakura off guard in the first few seconds of the spar. She exceeded Sasuke and Sakura's expectations in every possible way in that spar. During the Taijutsu spar, Sakura attacked very methodically by forcing Sarada to make varied body movements using her fast jab-like attacks, which could knock out Sarada with just one. However, Sarada held her own, illustrating the reaction speed she possessed. In Oversight, Sarada already matched Sasuke's speed feats, with the only exception being Curse Mark 2, which would have been a bit of a tough call. However, her spar against Sakura proved that she's faster regardless. For example, if a rookie champion does well against a world champion in a spar, then they've already proved themselves as an exceptionally good boxer, a cut above the rest. In some ways, Sarada is above most people her age, including Sasuke. Even if we were to consider the short spurt of speed Sasuke gets while using Chidori, it isn't any different of a Sarada, since she mastered the same jutsu as well. In chapter 43, Sarada manages to blitz Boro using her Chidori. Although in the anime Boro was slightly distracted by Boruto, he was capable of turning around looking at her, and Sarada managed to close the gap with incredible speed, enough to strike his core before he could react and move out of the way. This is Boro we're talking about. As big as he is, his speed is not a joke at all. After all, he is a part of Kara. In fact, he's an inner member of Kara. Again, all of this is consistent with Sasuke stating in the Boruto anime that Sarada was already far ahead of him when compared to where he was at her age. All in all, Sarada wins yet again.
Thank you, Bullet. Now, defense is an interesting one. We associate the likes of Sarada and Sasuke to be so OP that defense doesn't even seem to be part of their vocabulary. However, the two of them can certainly hold their own when the time calls for it. Let's begin with Sasuke. Even at this young age, he had a plethora of feats proving his durability. The most obvious place to scale Sasuke is, of course, his fight against Naruto in the final valley, as this is him at the peak of his abilities at this age. Although he did manage to survive attacks from the likes of Haku and not bleed out prior to this, his biggest and best example of defense and durability come from his fight against Naruto. Starting off with the way Sasuke managed to survive getting hurled into the water by a roar from a 9 tails boosted Naruto, to then take a flurry of high speed punches which even Sasuke with his Sharingan stated were fast. For example, the fastest sea creature in our world is the black marlin fish, which reaches a speed of up to 82 miles per hour underwater. For those of you guys who may be thinking, why is this important? Well, if Naruto is moving at such speed, the impact of the force of the attack is no joke, following the equation of force being equal to mass times acceleration. Now, for Naruto to outspeed a 2 Tomoe Sharingan underwater would mean he would easily be surpassing this kind of speed while still landing blows to Sasuke's both face and gut, subsequently sending him up out of the lake, hurtling into the cliff edge with enough velocity to cause a small crater. Yet Sasuke could still retaliate by raising his voice and kicking Naruto away. This was all without his curse mark mode activated. Following on from this, Sasuke survived another similar feat, being thrown into the cliffside, this time by One Tail Naruto. After activating his curse mark, a similar attack was literally laughable to Sasuke. Sasuke then upgraded his curse mark yet again, growing a large hand-like wing from his back. Using this wing alone, he tanked a full speed head-on charge from One Tail Naruto and even managed to send him flying back in retaliation, all while being in agonizing pain from his curse mark eating away at his body, eroding it. But above all else, he was able to walk away from a boosted Rasengan Chidori clash relatively unharmed, whereas Naruto was left completely unconscious. Bear in mind that the collision between the two in this scenario created an explosion big enough to make it pour down with rain. This kind of thing can occur in real life in the aftermath of nuclear bombs. A combination of radioactive materials can have subtle effects in the atmosphere. The charged particles emitted during radioactive decay can smack into surrounding atoms and molecules, creating even more charged particles. Then that flurry of charged particles can turn into water droplets in the atmosphere, sometimes making the droplets hefty enough to fall to the ground as rain. So, you could make the argument that Sasuke managed to come out of a nuclear level incident relatively unharmed, only coughing up a little bit of blood. Even after everything he'd just been through. Obviously, that has to be taken with a pinch of salt, as you can make the argument that the damage left behind to the surroundings weren't that of a nuke, which is true. But despite that, the fact it caused literal rain clouds to form speaks volumes about the sheer power of this blast. But this now brings us on to Sarada. She has a lot to live up to, I'm not gonna lie. But she has one or two surprises up her sleeve which can help prove that she is more durable than you may give her credit for. Firstly, remember when we said that Sarada copied the lightning armor technique from Buntan? Well, this armor doesn't just give you a boost in speed, but is actually durable and acts as a shield too. But let's move straight to her feats. Starting with her fight against Deepa, a literal inner of Kara. Prior to their training, Boruto was rendered useless by a single flick coated with condensed carbon, which is one of the strongest elements in the world. But after their training in preparation for their rematch against him, Sarada managed to tank a hit from a whole ass punch which was infused with condensed carbon and Deepa's killing intent. The impact was enough to make her face cave inwards slightly and send her flying back into rock. Now somehow her glasses survived this, but the point still stands. This was a very ferocious blow to take face on. She managed to survive it, yet she was very shaken afterwards. But being able to even speak after taking a hit like this though is ridiculous, as her face really should just be a big pile of mush. But her expertise in chakra control, which she got from Sakura, helped her survive it without any major injuries, as she was back up standing supporting Boruto shortly after. Now the thing is, we already spoke about how Sarada managed to copy Sakura's chakra control, later adopting her ridiculous raw power. But we didn't mention that this technique also increases the user's durability. Yes, in the Sakura hidden novels, Sakura Sakura showcased her ability to catch and repel incoming ninjutsu with the built-up chakra in her hands. Obviously, Sarada isn't quite as efficient as Sakura with this technique, but clearly we can see her durability rise after her training. In fact, during her training, while fighting her mother Sakura, one of the physically strongest ninjas in the world, Sarada was able to block punches and kicks with her bare hands effortlessly, as well as quickly adjust herself immediately after being kicked away, all while reaching her limit. On top of this, she was able to stand firm in a clash against Sakura that caused a literal crater in the surrounding area by using her one Tomoe Sharingan to copy her exact movements and flow a chakra, which surprised even Sakura. This is a crazy feat to consider, since we all know how goddamn strong Sakura's punches are. So if Sarada is able to negate another's attack by using this same strategy, it's a great way to make sure she can defend herself against physically stronger opponents. But there is a big but. Sarada did collapse from reaching her limit directly after this. So until she can perfect her chakra control, which I'm sure by being the daughter of one of the greatest shinobi in this topic, she will be able to achieve this in the not too distant future. But until then, she won't be able to reliably use this as either a defensive or offensive strategy. This was also a training session against her mother, so the argument can also be made that Sakura was going easy. But her being surprised by Sarada's capability makes me want to give her the benefit of the doubt this time. Regardless, this improvement is clear as day, as we witness in her bout with Boro, an inner member of Kara. Sarada tanked a direct punch straight from him, who, to say the least, is a pretty big guy.
Damn, boy, he's thick!
She also survived having her body squeezed by an enraged, out of control Boro with killing intent, which managed to crush her bones. Now, these are pretty impressive feats for sure. Kara members are no joke, and out of all of the members, Boro is clearly the strongest when it comes to physical raw power, and his ability is said to be equal to Code's. But at the end of the day, Sasuke did walk away relatively unscathed from his fight against One-Tail Naruto. With his body eroded by the curse mark, he tanked multiple earth-shattering blows and potentially a nuclear level explosion. But comparing Sasuke's strongest defense to Sarada, who thrived against a time skip Hokage level Sakura, to deeper and then Boro, even with the curse mark, Sarada takes the W. I mean, Sasuke took damage, whereas Sarada's glasses weren't even cracked. The ability to just negate damage in battle with the use of her elite chakra control outweighs the resilience that Sasuke has. Henceforth, Sarada wins this round.
Okay, so that moves us to chakra levels and control. Being the very base of the power system of the series, it's impossible to determine who is the stronger one without comparing their chakra and related abilities. So first, let's compare Sasuke's and Sarada's chakra level and control. Since both of them are members of the Uchiha clan, Sasuke and Sarada possesses chakra reserves larger than most individuals. Both of them have launched multiple high-level jutsus in a row whilst using their Sharingan. For example, Sasuke showed extreme resilience during the second phase of the Chunin exams as Team 7 fought people back to back, including the legendary Sannin Orochimaru. Furthermore, Sasuke's fight against Naruto at the Valley of the End lasted for a while, and he had his Sharingan active for a very long time, surpassing all previous limits with the use of his Chidori and fire style jutsus. And this is even before he activates his curse mark, which subsequently, whilst active, feeds off Sasuke's chakra, replacing it with Orochimaru's own Senjutsu chakra, overall increasing Sasuke's chakra levels at least 10 times. Come on guys, that's pretty broken. As long as Sasuke has some chakra of his own as a backup reserve that he can call upon, he doesn't have to worry about any fatal consequences. However, with that said, prolonged use of the curse seal corrodes the mind, and eventually the user's own chakra reserve will burn. So it's not something Sasuke can rely on every time. With all that said, Sarada is not too far apart, as she held her own against Buntan, a member of the new ninja swordsmen, Deepa an inner Kara member, and later even had a Sharingan active almost the whole duration against Boro. Boro is a Kage level threat who had dealt heavy damage to her team and was
dominating. Sarada played the most important role in his demise, which required precise use of the Sharingan, fire style jutsu and the Chidori. As you can see, both belong to the same clan, and hence having considerably large chakra reserve, both of them have fought against formidable opponents and used complex techniques for prolonged times. However, Sasuke easily takes the win in chakra reserves when taking his curse mark into consideration. Like, my man has that Orochimaru juice. But when we move to chakra control, we come to an entirely different story. Now, chakra control affects one's efficiency and in turn their effectiveness in battle. After all, there's no point if someone has twice the chakra reserve of their opponent, but they burn twice the amount of chakra as well. It worked out for Naruto for a very long time since the chakra reserve is simply out of the world, which isn't the case with the characters in battle right now. In the original Team 7, Sakura had the best control of chakra, followed by Sasuke and then Naruto. As you know already, adult Sakura is cracked. She has one of the best chakra control in history, comparable to that of Kage's and even Naruto and Sasuke. Sakura, belonging to a no-name clan and now is comparable to Kage's, actually plays a crucial role in all of this. Being the daughter of Sakura and Sasuke, Sarada has a knack for chakra control. Whilst the anime showed that she used to burn away too much chakra just like her father, she trained extensively to attain good chakra control. And who trained her? Her mama, Sakura. Due to Sakura's training and Sarada's hard work, her chakra control is better than most jonins, hence why she can use her Sharingan for extended periods whilst using complex ninjutsus, unlike Sasuke, who's almost like a ticking bomb due to his aggressive fighting style and not so refined chakra control. Whereas with Sarada, after her training with Sakura, she was able to replicate her mother's flow of chakra with her Sharingan, allowing her to perfectly utilize the already gifted control she has. Sarada just literally blows Sasuke out of the world in this category. If Sarada sticks to a medium long range fight, combined with her insane strength and speed, she'll keep pressuring Sasuke way too much, hence his chakra control won't be as efficient too. Therefore, Sarada gets the big W in this category. This moves us on to Chakra Nature. We all know that one can't just convert the chakra into any forms. It takes practice and natural affinity to a specific chakra nature. Whilst affinity blesses someone with one or two chakra natures, it still takes a while to master them. After all, as pointed out by Kakashi, a jonin is expected to know how to use at least 2 types of nature transformation well. Just so we're on the same page, there are 5 basic types of chakra natures, namely fire, earth, water, lightning and wind. Now, all clan members share an affinity to a specific chakra nature, but that's not always the case. Nonetheless, mastering chakra natures is quite a feat, especially due to their importance in battle. If it isn't obvious already, a ninja who has mastered multiple chakra natures is more versatile, unpredictable and has a higher chance of winning, especially due to the potency of combo jutsus. So who's the better one here, father or daughter? Leaving yin release aside, as all Sharingan users possesses it for genjutsu, pre-time skip Sasuke can use high level fire and lightning release jutsus. Even Kakashi was shocked by Sasuke's use of the fireball jutsu at such a young age. Being able to impress the likes of Kakashi, one of the harshest sensei the village has to offer, is, an impressive feat. However, Sarada on the other hand can use not 2 but 3 chakra natures, namely lightning as we see with her Chidori, lightning bolts and more, fire, which is an obvious one as a Uchiha member as it's their natural affinity, and lastly even wind release as seen in her fight against Tsukio, where she used her Sharingan to copy Mitsuki's technique. Whilst this is a close call, Sarada's access to a larger pool of jutsu than Sasuke gives her the jump here. Now you guys may be asking, why is this even important? Well, Sasuke's attack pattern can get repetitive easily, unlike Sarada who already knows a horde of complex jutsu and can fit into any role during a battle. If you guys are still not convinced that knowing more jutsus and one more type of chakra nature is enough to secure a win, then let's move on to compare overall use of jutsus, which connects all 3 chakra related discussion. But how do we decide that one is better than the other? Maybe just the number of jutsus? No, that wouldn't work since knowing a dozen dozen of D or C rank jutsus doesn't mean that you'll have the edge over someone who knows half a dozen A rank jutsus. Though with that said, if we consider both the number of jutsus mastered and their ranks, then it'll become fairly easy to decide who's the victor. Let's take a look at Sasuke first. Sasuke has heavily relied on Chidori and some fire style jutsus, namely the Great Fireball Jutsu, which he used against Kakashi whilst barely being a genin. Sasuke later is seen using other fire related jutsus like the Dragon Fire Jutsu, which he used against Orochimaru to the point of burning his fake face. Just look at him. Sasuke also was seen performing the Phoenix Flower Jutsu against a sound ninja, where he cleverly even hid shurikens within these flames. Sasuke's fire move ain't no joke, as he even takes out several Naruto clones with one hit. Now I know Sasuke has shown repetitive use of these techniques, but as we all know, if you're paying attention, you'll realize that both Naruto and Sasuke never used a lot of jutsus. Instead, they focused on mastering a high level ninjutsu, which brings us to Sasuke's signature pre-time skip Chidori. With that alone, our boy exceeds all expectations of Might Guy as Sasuke pierced through Gaara's unbreakable sand. Most significantly, Sasuke used it to defeat Naruto in their final valley bout. Sasuke using his curse mark allowed him to supercharge his Chidori even more, giving it the dark aesthetic. His flapping black Chidori is said to be much more powerful than its base state, which mind you, he was able to pierce through Naruto's right lungs with. And let's not forget about all that damage that was left to the water tank. But this flapping black Chidori was able to cancel out a 9-tailed chakra boosted Rasengan. Kakashi explained in Shippuden that if two jutsus are clashing but one is stronger than the other, the stronger one would overcome the weaker one. This was not the case with the black Chidori, illustrating the fact that it's equivalent to the 9-tailed powered Rasengan. So even though Chidori is just an A rank jutsu, this curse seal boost more than likely elevated it to become a S rank. With that out the way, let's see what Sarada has to offer. Like her father, Sarada, having a natural affinity to fire, can perform all the fire techniques as pre-time skip Sasuke that we mentioned earlier. She showcased it against the fabrications in the Octa arc and even against Ao. And the thing is, Sarada's use of her fire techniques is greatly improved after training with Sasuke, who at this point is a greater shinobi and teacher than anyone Sasuke was taught by. To add to Sarada's arsenal, by having the chakra nature of wind, she was able to copy Mitsuki's Gale Palm as seen in the anime. Now already having more choices, with lightning release, she is seen copying various techniques. From Buntan's lightning orb, allowing her to hurl multiple electric orbs at her enemies. This is an amazing jutsu since the user can launch multiple orbs at the same time, making it hard for her opponent to even dodge. Even if they do, she can just use their compromised situation to attack. Sarada can also use lightning stream technique, where she launches multiple thunderbolts at her enemies. This technique is strong enough to cut through the ground and air, and also has slight tracking abilities. This is an amazing technique to use in combination or to attack someone who's hiding. In fact, Sarada can use her lightning orbs as a distraction and then instantly snap her opponents with this fast body piercing jutsu. To add to this, as we mentioned earlier, Sarada copies the lightning strike armor technique. But most importantly, which is pretty much the icing on the cake, Sarada learned the Chidori from Sasuke, where all in all offsets pretty much all of Sasuke's arsenal. Sarada not only has more options, but has the ability to complement her other techniques. And like we mentioned earlier, Sarada has adopted her mother's chakra reserve punch. Honestly guys, this easily puts Sarada above Sasuke in regards to application of jutsu. Oh, and I know I haven't considered jutsus like the substitution jutsu, shadow clone jutsu, and etc. since they're rarely used by the characters we're comparing here, and again both have similar proficiency in using them. So all in all, even though Sasuke can outpower Sarada with Black Chidori, her overall jutsu compatibility and average jutsu rank puts her ahead, which once again gives Sarada the W. And like we said many times already, this itself is acknowledged by Sasuke himself in Boruto episode 222. If we take everything we noted in the last 3 sections, then it's apparent that Sarada would win with ease. Due to her superior chakra control and mastery of 3 chakra natures along with numerous jutsus, Sarada can most definitely defeat Sasuke. As stated before, she can use loads of combinations to overwhelm Sasuke by simply using her jutsus as distractions and being bait to land massive hits. With that said, Sasuke's curse mark seal will give him a significant edge. However, this can be countered with the right maneuver and good tactics. Also, looking at their feats side by side and understanding the power creep from Sarada being on a similar level to Mitsuki and possibly even Boruto, and then fighting Kage level threats such as Lord Ku, Deepa and Boro. This all reminds us once again of Kakashi's famous line of how the next generation will always surpass the previous. Let us know what you guys think of our verdict. This was a close call, unlike our previous comparison of Naruto vs Boruto. If you guys haven't checked that out, then make sure to do so. Also, don't forget to smash that like button because honestly, this took a very long time to make. With that, check out Naruto Explained and Bully's channel. Their link is in the description below. Subscribe and ding that notification bell to stay updated with all our content. Till then, we'll catch you lot next time.